So we had to pay $1,200 to legally certify that document that says this company owes us $205,000.
What would you do if you were also $200,000 in debt? This is your daily catch-up. Alright guys, so continuing our series, we spoke to many ministers, and of course we want to continue that series today. So we're speaking to not one but two ministers today from the Ministry of Funny.
Hey, what's up, man? What is the best intro ever?
For those who may surprisingly not be familiar with you guys, how about a quick introduction? How do you guys meet Ministry of Funny? What do you guys do?
Terence and I met in university, and we were studying abroad. He was 2 years ahead of me. We didn't really hang out much during school. We were both in Club Singapore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whole Singapore flag. Then when he...
When studying abroad, it's like that lah, huh? You got to find your tribe. It's all Singaporeans.
Singaporeans tend to we gravitate towards each other. You know, the accent, the food.
Lay from afar, you start running.
It's just like, whoa, who's that?
Then like National Day, got like National Day party.
Oh yeah, correct.
Party,
Chicken rice party, all chicken rice party. The best kind of party, bro. Then we met up at friends' weddings around 2011. Then we would always just come and together and say, hey, what happened to local TV? Because if you grew up in the 90s, TV was like solid, Then 2000s didn't feel as vibrant. Then there was this thing called YouTube that was coming up. Then one night, 2011, he got us, me and a group of friends, to just film our first YouTube video.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the first time we filmed. He filmed it.
Like camcorder and shit.
Camcorder, no, really camcorder.
Really,
yeah. I wanted. Tape. We used tape. Last time we used tape for TV, and I wanted to be behind the camera, but I couldn't find anyone who was like willing to put themselves in front of camera. And act like idiot. Then this guy, I was just looking through Facebook. Suddenly there was this guy, a friend of mine, right, obviously, who was traveling solo in France. And then like making videos about pigeons on the street, pooping and things like that. And that person was Harish.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, this guy doesn't mind being an idiot in front of camera. Let's do something
and there was
together.
a reason why I was doing that also. Because a girl who I was damn into just ghosted me. So I wanted to show her that I was living my best life. Okay. When in reality, I was taking videos of pigeons and dog poo and editing it by myself on the train, on the phone, to put it on Facebook. And that's how he saw, I found my idiot. I found my idiot who has no dignity. So when we met...
So you were trying to be cool lah.
I was trying to be cool, but I was damn sad.
I found my asshole.
Then we had one viral video in 2014. The first video that people really actually gave a shit about. In November, when I swam in Takashimaya Fountain, that was the first gig we got. Like a branded gig for a government client.
They pay you to go and bait.
Yeah, it was a branded gig. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't watch the video. What on earth is the context?
No, the context was to make a video to get people to care about Singapore sports. So our idea was, no one cares in Singapore about sports to the extent that you can be sporty and do the most extreme sports in public and no one will care. And really, no one cared. Like, there was someone eating like mee pok at the food court. I went to play ping pong like at him, and he just carried on eating. I remember when the client watched it, they're like, what the is this?
Really?
And then we were like, okay, just trust us.
But you got permission to swim in the fountain.
So we always make it a point to see whether need permit or not.
Yeah.
So turns out that body of water, I don't know whether it's still the same, but all it said was this is under 24-hour camera surveillance. There was no sign that said do not jump in.
and we did see like the cleaner uncle, they will take water from the fountain and pour back in, and also we're like, okay, it's not clean.
Exactly. There was no rule.
There were good times.
Good times. Those were the days.
I
You were the first guy.
Yeah, so I don't know whether people have swam in it since then, but then we built from there. Then it was YouTube, then we started doing TV, then our own TV series, then podcast, and then now just every format possible.
So speaking of TV, for those of you who don't know, the Ministry of Funny have been making news recently because of something that you guys have recently shared on the podcast as well as the Rise Media article, which was that you guys are now finding yourselves in over $200,000 in debt, particularly because of Hook, a platform that you guys made a series for. After they went into liquidation. How are you guys now?
Or rather, take us through the process first. So what happened?
We started producing TV shows, and we were involved in like HBO Asia's first comedy. I think that was 2017. But we're involved more tangentially as like associate producers, and then Harish actually was the lead actor. And this was all, imagine like you were doing YouTube videos, you're jumping into Taka Fountain, then suddenly HBO executives calling you.
Yeah.
So we were like, wow, this is awesome, man.
Also, they called you guys. You
They
didn't pitch
reached
the
out.
concept.
Yeah.
You didn't pitch it.
That was
Yeah.
for the HBO one in 2016.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
was sent. Was it?
Yeah.
Sense, yeah.
that
Wow,
was Sense.
wow, super done his research. The fact that you know that show is crazy. But then that was the start of us for our journey. We were like, okay, let's do this. We want to do this. Pitch a show, try and get something funded and put together, something that no Singaporean production company has ever done. Then that opportunity came along, I think in 2018, right? When Hook, which is a platform that was backed by Singtel, Warner Brothers, Sony, they said, okay, we're looking for local filmmakers across Asia to pitch something, and we'll produce a pilot, and then we'll see which is the best pilot, then we'll commission a full series. And then we pitched the idea called She's a Terrorist and I Love Her. Just from the title, you know that it'll be quite controversial.
It's a rom-com.
A rom-com about a guy who falls in love with a terrorist. So we pitched, went up against every other Asian country. Went down to the final five finalists. We produced a pilot and put it out there, and eventually we won the competition, which was the big shock for us, like from YouTube to like producing TV, and now we're going to do our own full series, not just for local audiences but for regional audience.
April 2019, we got the call that we won, and then the whole negotiation process started. So it was a super compressed timeline where the initial goal was to deliver all 8 episodes by October, which is in like 6 months, which for production standards is damn tight, right? Yeah. So that was in parallel with the contract negotiations, and because it was a competition, we knew that the IP wouldn't be ours, and that was in the terms. Then when it came to like the payment schedule, it was not the friendliest to production houses. We were sitting at the 313 food court, and it's near the Singtel building. Then we literally said, okay, this is not a deal that makes the most sense. There's some payment up front. It's Singtel. Hook will never disappear. Like literally, we pointed at the Singtel building. We're like, okay, Ken.
So right there, if you missed Denise, sorry, she's still not back yet. But you can still like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below something again lah. Something.
Team Denise or Team Dan, let's go.
I'm going to
leave in the comments.
Okay, back to the episode.
I mean, creatively, the process was great because there was almost no censorship. If you watch the show, there's one character who works in a sex shop, and like dildos, sex dolls everywhere.
Noah Yap's character.
Yeah, Noah Yap's character.
Right.
And initially, when we wrote it, it was meant to be in a mobile phone shop. But the notes that we got from the network was, okay, mobile phone shop, very Singaporean. Let's put it in a sex shop. We're like, you sure or not? We're like, yeah, put it in a sex shop. So we had to do everything in parallel, scripting, contractual negotiations, pre-production, and it was insane.
So when you say we, it's just the two of you?
No, then we assembled the team.
Okay.
So we got the producer, AD, a second AD, then slowly, I think at most on set plus background actors, we were like 80 people for certain days. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And those were you had to hire them.
Yeah, all freelancers.
So these guys are paid by you, not
Okay. Correct. Yeah, so we get the budget from the network, and then depending on the length of engagement, they invoice us and we pay them. Then we managed to push back the deadline of delivery to January 2020. So September to October, it was just intense because Daren and I led the writer's room, and we wrote 7 out of the 8 episodes. He was directing and I was the lead actor. Then by January, we delivered it. Yeah, then January 21st, there was a launch event. And the message we got from Hook at that point in time, like the leadership was like, this is the first of 100 originals we're going to make in 2020. Then we're like, wow, even the launch event was quite epic. I mean, we never had a launch event for anything. We're like, oh,
usually just upload only.
Yeah, that's why our launch event is like, click, okay.
Just wait for the first comment.
Yeah, exactly. So this one, we had a launch event. They built like a terrorist escape room. They sent some stuff like for the influencers who came. So that was January. Then what happened, Daren?
Then
At that point, I cannot take it.
the show. So that was all the positive buzz
Yeah.
Then, but I remember that point was like early 2020. There was like a little, what is this? There's this little disease that's coming from China and spreading throughout the world. They're not very sure what it's called, some kind of flu thing. But the show was already up already. And then one afternoon we were like, okay, let's start talking to them about season 2 potentially. Some of the executives were like, the show's doing quite well. Let's talk about season 2. 26th March we met them already and met them to talk about season 2. And 27th March, suddenly friends started to ping us and like, hey guys, the network Hook that you're working with is liquidating.
Oh my God.
And we're like, what? Can't be right. Like literally, and so you start Googling and then you start to see the news just all coming out. And then my basically my ball shrank at that moment.
So my balls didn't shrink because
Balls of steel,
I didn't know that in a liquidation process, whatever you sign on a contract, right, doesn't f***ing matter.
Yeah.
Like I told Terrence, hey, but okay, liquidate, they're gonna pay us. Then he had to like, hey, then my balls shrank.
Yeah.
So then we're like, oh shit.
When were you due to get paid? When were you expecting a lump sum to come in?
So the way they structured the payment was the final 40% was going to be broken up into 2 tranches of 20%. And the first one we could only invoice when the final episode went live, which was end of February. And the final 20% was 4 months after that.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
most freelancers work on a 30 to 45 day invoicing schedule. So we also knew that, okay, we have to pay them. We can't expect them to wait for 4 months. So that's where we had to take some loans to pay them off first. Then, of course, we look, what can you do as a liquidation, as someone who's affected by liquidation? So this is what I had to learn also. When a company liquidates, there's a list of creditors that they need to pay back or they owe money to, right? There are secured creditors, which are like banks and investors and all. Then there's unsecured creditors. And we fell under unsecured creditors. But then we also found out another twist, that the contracts we signed was with Hook Mauritius, which we knew. But Hook Mauritius was a subsidiary of Hook Singapore as an unsecured creditor. So we were unsecured creditors of an unsecured creditor. We started reaching out to the Hook executives, to Singtel, and just emailing and trying to get some response.
Also, nobody was answering.
They take like 1-2 weeks to answer.
But the thing is that the liquidation process is designed to protect the corporate interest. Like they'll just tell you, I can't say anything, it's up to the liquidators. I don't know where your rights are, it's up to the liquidators, where that's all we can tell you.
Right.
So essentially you are basically hitting a wall anytime you try to find out anything. In fact, we had to hire our own lawyers in Mauritius. And we had to, because Mauritius and Singapore, for whatever reason, they don't recognize each other's documents and stuff. So we had to bring it to a lawyer, get it certified, all that. DHL that shit to Mauritius, get the Mauritian lawyer to file for us in courts just to say that we are owed money.
Yeah.
That's all. And this was during circuit breaker when you couldn't even go around that easily.
The document is literally called a proof of debt.
Yeah.
Which says that, okay, so and so owes us how much money? So we had to pay $1,200 to legally certify that document that says this company owes us $205,000.
Yeah.
And during circuit,
And by doing that, you owe them $1,200.
Exactly.
I'm sure you have someone that works on a Hook team that you were at least in daily correspondence with. Because y'all were discussing the project.
Correct.
And someone that you probably need to report to or counterpart over
Yeah,
there.
got.
What happened to that person?
So from what we heard was Friday 27th March 1:30 the press release came out, right? 11 a.m. there was a town hall in Hook where they announced the liquidation
To the employees.
to the employees.
So actually, when they met you the day before, they also didn't know
They
themselves.
didn't know.
Yeah.
So that's why the executives we work with, to their credit, they were great. They were great executives to work with. But they also found out on the day itself.
And they lost their job.
Yeah.
They lost their jobs.
They lost their job.
It's weird how nobody in the company understand the health of the business. That they were trying to commission a season 2 the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what gave us a lot of questions. How does this, what happened?
Even now, obviously, there wouldn't have been any answer since then.
I mean, we did get some email replies, but basically, like what Daren said, they will always point us to the liquidators, who are the lawyers, right? And we even got one person tell us, okay, if you have outstanding debt to your freelancers, why don't you liquidate your own company to write off your debt,
So you don't pay them.
So basically, do a hook,
Yeah. But then leave all your debtors in.
That's why. They were like, how does that make sense? And there was so many conversations we had, and it was really like being tossed around by a hot potato. And over the course of 2 years, we would talk to this person for 3 months, then find out, their last day of is 2 weeks later. Then we get passed around.
Because we were so into the TV thing, we kind of dropped doing anything on YouTube or social media for
Yeah,
a good
that's
6 months. So we weren't looking for clients. We weren't even producing anything really on YouTube. But we were like, okay, let's put all our eggs in this basket and see how it goes. So it was a very tough one. But I mean, for us, it's like you have to pay the freelancers you work with. It was like die whatever. That's one thing that we have to do because we know in Singapore already how tough it is for freelancers to do it. And the last thing that we want to do ever is to over the freelancers. It's really not our thing. Yeah.
Like speaking of like the legal stuff and speaking to lawyers, so I think you guys mentioned as well, like the IP was owned by Hook, given that it was part of the contest. But after these 3 years of waiting for the money to come in, you guys have decided to like go ahead and publish the episodes.
Yeah.
Are there any legal risks that you guys?
I think got lah. But I mean when we got lah. No, because
you're the ministry.
we did understand the risk, but the thing is, Hook as an entity doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
We even tried to buy back our IP. We reached out to the liquidators and said, okay, if we want to buy back, because we heard some people want to buy it, they didn't buy the whole slate. What is the process for us to buy it back lah? And they replied saying, oh, let us know what IP you want to buy back. We consolidated everything. Then we didn't hear from them. For months. Then we emailed, can we get an update? And that's why we never went public the whole time lah. Because we said, okay, well, once we go public, then all bridges are burned lah.
Yeah.
So it was only last year when we were thinking we want to buy back, also got no choice. We have exhausted every possibility. So now if they come after us, who knows? Maybe next year we'll be having this podcast from jail. I don't know.
That'll be a great podcast.
But not just the legality, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like for 3 years, imagine all these OG YouTubers that we grew up with, we worked with, Muna, Noah Yap, all these people, Kate. We had such a great time together. I think the shittiest part of it was like that all these people poured their heart and soul into it. We pulled favors, they gave us good rates and things like that. But we can't even like have them see what they actually did. So for us it was like, you know what, even if we just put it out just as like a portfolio piece, just to show, hey, this was done and this is what the result was. We're not monetizing, we're not making money from it. It's our portfolio. We did this, and the actors all did this. Everyone just appreciate what it was. It represented the coming together of a group of people at a point in time, 2019, pre-COVID, like all these crazy things going on. And that's just what we produce. So please enjoy.
Thankfully, since then, we learned a shit ton about running a business.
Lawyers.
About law.
Your own lawyers.
Don't put all your eggs into one side of your business and neglect everything else. The good thing was during COVID, when we couldn't make videos and TV shows, we started our podcast. And that has become its own thing now. Then during COVID, is it? So then we did a few TV shows since then. When the article came out this week, quite a few people messaged me thinking that it just happened. So thankfully, like we're doing okay, but just we didn't want to let the story die we didn't want to let the story die, because if anyone can just hear the story and realize, oh, these are some things maybe to think about, then for us that's what matters, and getting the show out
So you also talked about y'all were thinking about maybe y'all don't want to be Ministry of Funny anymore. Almost wind down. What changed?
So
and what was that conversation like also? Like who was the one that be like, bruh?
I can't remember who, but I think I remember a few calls, one specific call, because I did leave the industry for a while.
Right.
I went to some tech incubator to just see what can I learn from media and infuse with like tech and stuff like that. So the call to tell him that dude, I need to do something
Right.
We still carried on pitching because there were outlets to pitch It was a gradual thing. I left the industry. We still carried on doing the podcast, but what changed is that we got one of those pitches and we made a web series end of 2020. With also Noah Yap and we assembled a team. It was a Mandarin web series.
God damn, look at you.
Mandarin web series. We're like, okay, we'll do it, man. We'll do it.
We did a Mandarin web series and then we did a Tamil TV series. So we're like, we'll take it.
Exactly. We're like, okay, Ken, maybe we take a break on English for now. So slowly we got from there.
That's why you're the language.
Yeah, that's why. That's why. So, and I mean, the podcast was growing and felt like, I think both of us feel very strongly about the industry also, and we're like, okay we can get this and slowly just build from there. And I think like one thing about the industry I've noticed also is if most people in media are in it because there's a certain level of passion, right? So that's good, and you see most people like there's a bit maybe even a little bit because there are so many reasons why you shouldn't be in media, right? There are so many reasons.
That's true.
But if you're still in it,
Maybe
means
I do have a
that
passion then.
Yeah, maybe deep down, deep down.
Yeah,
John,
deep down.
deep down.
Yeah.
Then like, I mean, I still really enjoy the process of making creative stuff lah. You know, like even this podcast, right? 5 people coming together, just shooting the shit, talking cock. It's nice lah. It's good because we are creating stuff lah. So and working with people and I do strongly feel that there's so much talent in Singapore. There's so many stories to tell, and somehow we gotta just keep pushing at it lah. Now we are at a better place. Still got consequences from that whole hook liquidation, but okay lah. At least now we have diversified our business a bit. We are working on a TV show. We got our podcast. We got a audio service called Folklory, and just trying to do more lah.
But you all, I mean, you all don't feel that kind of like lethargy,
You're like,
man.
No man.
In the industry, you know, a lot of the same issues keep popping up every year. The same, you know, whether it's like about the budgets or you know the people that you have to work with. Don't you all feel like that sense of like?
So our business
To an extent.
is digital media. And there's also a creative agency. So we pick two of the worst lah.
Yeah.
I was having a
slowest
conversation
paying clients.
with a client and with a friend, another founder, and she was saying, do you know that our industry is the only industry that you walk in, like supermarket, you walk in, you take all the apple, you take a bite, and then you're like, okay, I want to buy this one.
Yeah.
Our only
That's
our
true,
industry is like that.
Yeah.
You make the whole bloody fish deck,
Yeah.
give the entire idea already.
Yeah.
Then they be like, yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll go with that guy. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is the two that I've chose to devote my life to.
Nice. That we have all kind of chose to.
Can I join the support group for space?
We meet weekly on Thursdays.
Y'all use the free Zoom only got 5. Right?
But you all ever get to that point where it's like, you know, it's a decision between just throwing in the towel and continuing to do this lah, and but what pushed you to continue rather than just throwing
Crazy
the towel?
Rich Asians. Is it?
I mean, I think with a little bit of luck also, somehow we're still around lah, you know?
We're very
And like
lucky.
every time, I don't think we've been ever in a situation where it was dire, but like ever there was a time where it goes, oh shit, actually the projections maybe look a bit iffy. We've been quite lucky and things do happen to come our way. So,
We are very
touch-
blessed by a lot of benefactors in the employees that come in the partners that choose to work with us, in investors, in clients.
Yeah.
We are really, really very blessed by a lot of benefactors.
But you sort of create that luck for yourself.
Sure,
lah,
that's
right?
what
I
people
mean,
tell me.
you bust your ass, you work hard, everything. Make sure that you're in the right place, right time.
But also there's a lot of people that bust their ass and don't get lucky.
that is true.
Yeah.
That is
True.
It's very
True.
Like you guys
True.
also work really high over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one is like they come in and then we made the whole dish for them already. They took a bite and then they just grabbed the whole
No, they
plate.
sold it
and
already.
went-
Yeah.
They sold every plate already.
Yeah, they wrote the menu and
And
they
then you
started
went there and
selling.
said, you want to buy my rice bag? You want to give them?
How to buy back recipes.
No, enough. You like pain. Did you go to the government?
We reached out to IMDA multiple times, and the one thing we got back was that it was a commercial decision by Singtel, so they can't do anything.
To be fair, also MDA is the Media Development Authority, like,
Yeah.
right? They don't arbitrate
Yeah.
like this kind of disputes, and it's a commercial dispute. So for us was like, okay, I mean, you can't bark up the tree if really it's not the right tree to bark up.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why it was very tricky because like you want to say that, oh, how can you not? But at the same time, during COVID, IMDA did dedicate that amount of money for new shows lah. One of which is something that we pitched for and we got at the end of the year.
I see.
You know, so but then it just made us think like, oh, so the way everything's structured, like you can have noble intentions, but it's so easy for entities to absolve themselves that we can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's in the hands of the liquidators. It's a commercial decision. Then you realize, oh, this is what the dynamics of like power and all that you hear about are that reality of things lah. Yeah. So we did go to them. We tried multiple times, but we couldn't really get anything from them lah.
But that's why I think that question is important, because in Singapore we kind of always think, oh, you got problem, you just go and complain to government and then get them to do something. But sometimes that avenue.
Banks lah, actually.
And those guys get billed out.
Yeah. But if the avenue is not available, the very least that you can do as an individual is to try to understand the situation better, talk to people who have been through it, or even just like now that we put it out on public record what happened to us.
Yeah.
If there are people going through it, they kind of understand like it's not the end of the world lah. Don't kill yourself yet. There's a whole process to it, and you can pull yourself out from that hole that you're in.
Did it get there?
Yeah, mentally, did it get that dark
there?
for you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, not to that extent, but it was tough, lah. It was tough. Because at that point in time, like, we didn't even know whether we're gonna stay in the industry. At that point, I remember 2020, people weren't even sure what the next few years were gonna look like. And yeah, it just felt like everything that we had worked for came to a standstill. But it was also something that we didn't want to just vocalize because everyone was going through a shit time.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of just internal kind of like,
Oh, that's true.
just sit down and like,
I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but for me, like, that's why when we did our Yalabat podcast, all that, it was very cathartic. Just to be able to talk, every other day, talk to someone rather than just being cooped up at home. Then during COVID, then as we start to have an audience and people responding, then you feel like, okay, I've got something to work towards, as opposed to just sitting there thinking about, oh, woe is me, this is so shitty.
yeah.
For us, it was I think it was something that actually was very cathartic.
Yeah. And I mean, even like friends and the family who knew, and even partners, like my partner was super helpful in just keeping me sane. We weren't married at that point in time, but we were doing the whole COVID relationship kind of thing. But
That was where you met,
No. We met pre-COVID. I met pre-COVID. That was like, I think that was just after the HBO season we met. Then I was like, hey, HBO, and 3 years later, we're like, oh shit. But yeah. That's why. So I mean, that sort of support structures help. But yeah, like, because you cooped up at home also, then you just stare out the window and like, oh shit, what's going to happen and all.
For your talking, I mean, does the talking help you all get through tougher days and all?
No, it's made our conversations a lot worse because now we save everything for the podcast. So at lunchtime,
don't talk in
we
real
don't talk.
life.
It's just silent. It's like,
Really,
save it for the camera.
Really, yeah.
It's made us feel more lonely.
We really just talk to other people in the company.
So you mean there are times when you're like, hey, I want to tell John something, then you're like, okay, I tell someone else.
We'll break it in 3 talking points, send it to the group chat, and then we're just like, we cannot discuss this.
The worst part now, right, is that John Paul would just say, code word, okay, it's just this word, you remind me later, okay? And then entire film, I'll say, albatross, and then he'll be like, I can't remember the story.
So what else are you guys? What else do you guys have planned, like in the future,
What's
near future?
next from now?
Yeah.
Next, yeah.
What can we look forward to?
I mean, we're still working on long form series. Like now in development, we have a adult animation series coming out.
Like porn,
Yeah.
Adult themed.
Yeah.
Still like Family Guy.
Something
Family
like
Guy,
that.
South Park,
Yeah.
but
More dark comedy, like dark comedy.
Okay,
So,
but again, that one quite far in the future, lah. I think the next at least a year from now. That
Yes, yeah.
So
Animation.
animation
That's a
is-
lot of freelancers you guys need to pay more.
yeah.
So how have you learned and how have you safeguarded yourself for?
What are the payment terms for this?
There's a MediaCorp thing that we're doing. So I think there's a lot more safeguards in place in terms
Never
of.
say never, one.
Yes.
Never say never.
Never say never.
You know, quite Singtel music.
They come around and say, yeah,
Mediacorp
but
building will always be there. That's why.
But
bigger
no,
than
the
MediaCorp,
terms are
bro.
the terms. Yeah, the payment terms, all these things. You generally get a much better grasp of everything. Have you got a better grasp of payment?
Yeah. And we're working with an animation studio as well. And I think we are just making it a point that if we ever can foresee payment issues, we raise it first earlier rather than later. And I think so far, like that conversation, when it happens, it's not just immediately shut down. So kudos to the executives for that.
And I mean, obviously, our podcast, we're still, producing the podcast and our 3 times a week therapy for ourselves, that's our podcast.
Yeah.
And on the audio service, Folklory, which is basically where we help people preserve their family stories as personal podcasts. Because for us, it's like this experience of podcasting, I think was life-changing for us. We really felt like everyone has a story to tell. Everyone, if you have your grandfather or your mother or father, it's their birthday, let's just sit down with the aunts and talk about your memories of granddad, and then record it as a podcast. You can let your grandkids listen to it next time. Everything.
Very cool.
So learning to not put all eggs in one basket. We got long form, we got podcasts. We're slowly building up our team. And just those 3 main things. So the thing is called Folklory, Folklory.
Yeah.
And you can check out the website, folklory.com.
Things are on the up.
Yeah.
It's not the end. It's not the end when they pull the rug from
New
the
beginning.
Yeah. And I mean, just wanted to say kudos to you guys also for doing this because I think podcast is still new to Singapore. And I think you guys do a great job of making it accessible to the masses. So
You're the voice for a lot of young people in Singapore, I think.
I don't know how to take
No, it's just a compliment.
And with that, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much to Harish and Terence from the Ministry of Funny for joining us.
thanks, guys.
Like,
Thanks for
share,
having us.
subscribe, leave a comment down below. Something lah, just something,
I miss
anything.
the niece.
Yeah, just literally say I miss the niece. Okay, we'll see you next one. Bye bye.
Bye.
So can swear? Cannot swear?
Swear.
anything.
Swear anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there anything we cannot ask?
Or we can clip it by saying, we cannot say this, you can censor it, but we'll tell you.
Yeah. Unless you go into like dating history and all that, and that one.
Oh,
And you
Okay,
just mosaic
no
out.
problem.
Right?
Okay, just mosaic out. If you okay, I'll go.